آزادی بیان
言论自由
free speech.
Thank you. So I'm coming to this issue from a slightly different perspective, but my goal is to be conciliatory and to hopefully dispel some of the criticisms that have been likewise made about the opposing camp in this debate. So I'm not sure that free speech is really the primary issue at stake here as far as the statute is concerned. I agree with Sizwe in that. And I think it's fair to say that we've actually seen quite a lot of heated and conflicting discussion. If anything, I would say that it's certainly true that the university and Oriel College as well have been slower or more reluctant to address the issues raised, and to that end have been rather dismissive of RMF. I also think it's true that those with reservations about RMF have had no shortage of opportunities to voice their opposition and have been backed by Oxford's highest leadership, indeed Lord Patten and Louise Richardson, those who wield the most institutional power. So I would be very cautious indeed about claims that the campaign is trying to shut down debate. I think that's often a red herring for maligning the campaign and delegitimizing its grievances. Similarly, what I also think is disingenuous is the criticism that RMF is endeavoring to whitewash history. In fact, I think an argument could be made for the opposite case, that the campaign is actually overemphasizing or perhaps hyperbolizing a particular historical issue and symbol in order to advance its political agenda. This is a problem insofar as such a parochial focus detracts from real-world substantive social justice that directly improves the lives of people today. I know that my colleagues on the panel will likely disagree with me on this, but to refute the point about whitewashing history, I think that is nonsense. Because removing a statue does not amount to historical denial. Statues are tools of commemoration, either implicitly or explicitly. They endorse their subject. Rightfully, we do not erect statues of Hitler, and statues of Stalin are being taken down across Russia and Eastern Europe still today. And we frequently justify taboos on certain symbols and iconography like Nazi swastikas and the Confederate flag in the United States. I would say that none of these things amount to an erasure of history. What I will say, though, is that my experience discussing the RMF campaign with students here is that disagreement with its goals or its methods is not well received or well tolerated. What I've noticed, and granted, I think this does go both ways, is a tendency to interpret the opposing camp very uncharitably, without regard for the sincerity of intentions. And that's what's fundamentally destructive to the debate and to free speech, if you will. The prospect of being labeled unprogressive or racist happens often enough to deter many from speaking. And that is an issue. So how should we see Rhodes today in light of all of the recent debate? I would say that we should see Rhodes as a particularly unpleasant product of his time, but a product of his time nonetheless. And obviously that doesn't exonerate him in any way. We know that he was even condemned for his zealotry by many of his own peers. But I do think that the question of judging him today is not as entirely straightforward as we would like it to be. There are many historical figures of great significance who shaped the world through unjust and often very brutal means. But that doesn't make their legacies black and white. I agree that Rhodes' legacy might be darker than others, but I also think that it appears darker to us or feels darker because he lived recently enough that he remains a more vivid example in our historical memory. As Rhodes Must Fall has shown, many people ostensibly continue to feel that impact today. The question that I would like to raise is why that is. Why now, in 2016, is there suddenly this enormous revival of outrage and grievance against him? And further, is that revival actually constructive? You might say that the fact that we're here and having this conversation today is proof that it is constructive. But I do think that the jury is actually still out on that. So far, Rhodes Must Fall has been very good at garnering attention, but not so good at affecting real change and making a tangible impact on people's lives. Arguing about an inanimate statue seems rather parochial in the hierarchy of social justice, particularly considering the systemic problems and inequality that we will be discussing later in this discussion. So the thing about symbols is that they are malleable. They are fundamentally social constructs, and we mold them to suit our political purposes. Rhodes Must Fall has deliberately sought to invest in the statue a range of symbolic meanings to further its own political agenda. Perhaps this is precisely its goal and its strength. But what it also engenders, I think, is a narrative of victimhood that erodes the progress that has been made in making the best of what Rhodes left us, namely the scholarship trust, and the opportunities for many students who would not otherwise have them. My main problem with Rhodes Must Fall thus far has been its preoccupation with a relatively inconspicuous statue, again, when there are enormous obstacles of equality of opportunity and access in British higher education. If we're talking greater social justice, then these are the issues that acutely need to be addressed. Thank you.